Hi guys, Grant Nelson again here with the Mustache Off-Grid YouTube channel. In case you're new to the channel, I cover various off-grid and homesteading topics. I live off-grid in southern Missouri in a one-room cabin, log cabin that I built by hand. And I like to cover various off-grid and homesteading topics and sometimes other things that are on my mind, politics, gardening, whatever it is. And I'll tell you, I'm sweaty today. I've been trying to set up an irrigation system for my garden. I got a gas water pump off Amazon, and it was $160. And I've been working a part-time job, and I've basically been taking the money I make and putting it back into the homestead. So I've been reinvesting it, and I bought this to try to irrigate my garden as it gets hotter here. And man, that thing, I've been pulling on it all day. I had it going twice this morning, and then it shut off, and then, I mean, it was only going for like a minute. And then I had it almost start again later in the day. Then I quit for an hour, went to town and got some starting fluid to try on it. And I had it so close so many times. I went through 2 or 3 pull cords that they frayed apart and basically just had to take it off and put a new one on. Got that down to science now. But right now I've pretty much given up on it for today, just for today. And I undid the spark plug to let it dry a little bit in there in case I flooded it, which that might be part of the problem. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird because it's so close to turning over. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun today. But it is what it is, and I'm blessed. We're all blessed to be living alive, and to live in the United States. If you do, you're blessed. And I just can't thank God for. I just thank God for everything He gives. So. And I like the sweat. It's good for me, getting the toxins out of my body. I've went probably now about two weeks with 0 caffeine, not even from pop or anything. So I've been trying to do that. I've also been trying to cut back on citric acid. And it's in everything. And people say, citric acid? Well, that just comes from a citrus fruit like a lemon or an orange. 99% of the citric acid that's in your beverages that you drink or jellies or whatever it is, 99% of it actually comes from sugar, like ethanol production, basically the same process as black mold's made. And it's very real. I mean, that's a thing. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with citric acid, but it's bad for your teeth. It's proven to be bad for your gut health. In moderation, it's fine, but if it's in every single thing that you're drinking or eating, obviously that's not going to be that good for you. So I've been trying to cut that out of my diet as well. So caffeine and citric acid I've been trying to get out of my diet. I also think that the citric acid probably adds a little bit of makes the sugar a little bit more addictive. If you think about like when you eat a lemon and it has that citrus, that sour citrus flavor, citric, and then you drink something that's sweet or eat something that's sweet afterwards, it tastes twice as sweet. And we're adding that to everything. And I kind of think that it might be making things a little more addictive as far as like sugar beverages and everything like that. But that's just my conspiracy. But there's some truth in it probably from some of the things I've read and seen. Anyway, that's some things I've been working on irrigating the garden, working on my health as usual, and getting a little sweat today. Man, it's hot. But what else was I going to get into today? the garden's been wonderful. I got some really nice peppers growing. I have a few tomatoes that are getting close. They're all store-bought plants, so it's kind of cheating a little bit, but they were like 4 for $1. So I was like, man, that's pretty good. So I got them, some hot peppers and some tomatoes, and I got like 80 pounds of potatoes, and I got some onions, which I might put in this video just so you guys can see. I've got them hanging up drying. And just living the off-grid life, you know. I work about 1 or 2 days a week, and the rest of the time I am out here hanging out. I'll show you guys these onions I dried. Or I'm drying. I'm curing them, as you call it. And everyone cures them a little bit different. Everyone's got their own method. Some people put them out in the direct sun for a few hours. Some people put them in a cool, dry place. You know, there's a lot of different things people do. I'd like to get some play sand or some sand. I was going to go down to the creek and get some one day to keep my root vegetables in. But I'll show you guys this. I put these nice paver blocks in here too, just to give me a little walkway. And I got them hanging up right up there. And then I built these stairs the other day, so that makes it a little easier to get up there. But I got them hanging up here drying, as you can see. And here's a 5-gallon bucket of nice red potatoes. I've got I put these on here so mice and little animals stay out of there at night. But I've got more in here. Some nice sized ones. They did really well. And then look at all them eggs. So life is good out here. I've got plenty of pork, plenty of eggs, plenty of vegetables. And I just figured you guys would enjoy seeing that. So yeah, it's coming along nice out here. Got a nice little setup, smoker right there. I'm gonna get the fire started here in a little bit and just chill. I might take a hot bath tonight across the road. I have a system set up over there with propane gas tank and propane hot water heater to and a gas generator to take a hot bath. The shower function of the hot water heater hasn't been working, but the bath did. I fixed it with JB Weld. It cracked last winter. So sometimes I'm just always got things I'm fixing or whatever. But anyway, we'll get back to the chat here. Woo! All right. So, other things I wanted to discuss, you know, just talking about the way of the world here. It seems like right now the Iran war, you know, that stuff's already kicked off. We're all kind of just over it a little bit. It's kind of like Ukraine, like it's just there. We know what's going on. Speaking of that, did you guys know that over 2 million people have been killed in the Ukrainian war up there? That's a lot. It's a lot of casualties from both sides. But, so that's happening. Right now, it seems like things are fairly stagnant. They're kind of just slow walking us into something. I don't know what it is. They're rolling out these AI data centers for surveillance. They're only for surveillance, by the way. What is data collection? It's surveillance. That's what it is. They know about you and what you're doing. So that's literally what it is. So if anyone says, oh, that's a conspiracy, the AI data centers are for surveillance, when they're collecting your data, that's a type of surveillance already. So no statute of limitations on how long they can keep your data for. You have no rights on your data. They basically just take it without your consent. Speaking of that, you know, I've made a video in the past about the some weird times that I've just been in a room and I've talked about something and I've get an ad for, you know, whatever it was I was discussing in person, you know, didn't type anything in, nothing like that. But I've been working, and it's funny, I was working in a pet aisle at some store, and for about 8 hours, moving stuff around. And it was kind of hilarious. I'm getting all these ads for dog and cat food, specifically the brands that I was stocking on Facebook, which I've actually went about 3 or 4 days right now without Facebook too. I just deleted the app from my phone, which I didn't even know you could do, actually, kind of, in a way. Like Google, you can't delete that from your phone. Can't have that off there. There's a bunch of other apps that they just won't let you take off there. And you can't just have a regular telephone anymore. They don't allow that either, unless it's a landline. So, anyway, that's just some interesting things with that. I mean, I'm getting ads for Purina One, dog food, and stuff like that. And I wasn't even looking to buy any. I was just in the aisle for a long time, and I was stocking those products. So, it's very odd. But anyway, other thing that I wanted to discuss is it's a bit of a conspiracy, a bit far-fetched, you know, and I tend to like to try to make a bit of a prediction on, you know, where the things are headed, I guess. And, you know, I could be wrong, I could be right, but I've noticed lately online, you know, on YouTube basically, and Facebook, and, you know, any social media, probably TikTok too, Hunter Biden is really trying to get his name out there. He's doing a lot of podcast talk shows talking about his addiction and his life and all this stuff. And they give him softball questions and softball interviews every time. No one actually challenges him. And if they did challenge him or ask him any real questions of substance, he probably would just throw out the card that he always throws out and just say, well, I'm an addict, so I was addicted, I was an addict, like, which is what he says about every single thing that he's ever done wrong in his life, is just, well, I was an addict. And it's a great card to have in your back pocket, but it still doesn't change the fact that you did that or did something. And they never ask him about the Ukrainian energy deal stuff. I haven't heard anyone ask him that question. I've only heard, even when Candace Owens interviewed him, she really gave him an easy interview. And obviously she didn't ask him anything about Joe Biden or anything about that, or really nothing about politics. Just let him talk about his life and his addiction and all that, which is fine. You know, it was very civil. But at the same time, I couldn't even watch the whole thing because it was just, they weren't actually asking any questions of substance, which I would have liked to have seen. You know, everyone has questions. I think every American has questions that they would want to ask Hunter Biden about certain things in the back of their mind. And if they don't, they're probably watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians every single evening, is my guess. Or worried about the Grammy Awards or the Oscars or something like that. But so anyway, also things to note. I tend to think that Hunter Biden might be preparing to do a run for presidency. And one thing I have noticed in the interviews that I've seen with him talking about his addiction and other things, he is a good speaker. And he does have a great, he is really good at working around a hard question too and not answering it, just like a politician does. He's got the name, the father-son name, with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, George Bush Jr., and who else we got? Do we got anyone? The Roosevelts they're a little different, but you get all these families in politics, and Biden's been in there 50 years in Congress. He's out now. But I tend to think that Hunter Biden might run. And he's talked actually a little bit about running, kind of like as a joke. And that's kind of how it was when Trump first was going to run as well. He kind of threw it out there, and no one really took it seriously until he actually started winning debates. And if you look at the Democratic Party right now, the main candidates you're probably going to see try to run, maybe, would be like AOC, Bernie Sanders probably again, maybe like, maybe Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer type, you might see. Who's the one I was forgetting? The main one. Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker. That's probably going to be a lot of the lineup, I imagine. But if you throw a wild card out there, someone like Hunter Biden that's never been in politics, and he pulls the same campaign tactics that Trump pulled just as a liberal, and maybe he campaigns a little bit more as a moderate. You know, maybe he might campaign a little bit more as like someone in the middle. But in the end of the day, you look at it's only going to move the agenda forward for the globalists. And I could see him really running a campaign like that and doing exactly what Trump did and taking the primaries. And maybe he might not win the presidency, but he might be the Democratic nominee. And that would be a big deal if he was. And right now, as bad as the Republicans are being, he would possibly win. And like I said, I think that he's a really good public speaker. He's really good at debating. And sometimes people can win a debate or be really good in politics and speaking, even if their ideas are bad. Because the way they present them and the way that they are able to sugarcoat, we could say, or work around certain questions or come back with a different question the opposite way, you can actually win a debate and actually be wrong on all the issues. It's very possible to do. And or at least even break even on a debate. And the way the Democratic Party is, I don't think they have a lot of great public speakers. You know, Kamala Harris might run again too. I forgot they had her to the bundle. But if Hunter Biden ran, he's got the family name. That's a big deal. There's a good chance that he would get an Obama endorsement because Joe Biden was Obama's vice. Kamala Harris was also Joe Biden's vice. So, I mean, he might get some big name endorsements. Even like someone like all these guys that are the Democratic, running on the Democratic ticket, might actually endorse Hunter Biden. And I think there is enough people in the middle of the aisle that are actually dumb enough to vote for him. I actually believe that because he's a good public speaker. He actually looks fairly normal. He does look fairly normal, at least the way he's presented in most videos. He's not super old. I think he would, I mean, you look at like the charisma aspect that he has, and I think that he would have a good shot at the Democratic nominee and a good shot at the presidency, actually, especially with the way the Republican Party is doing. No new wars, they start a war. Everything's more expensive, actually. Everything is ridiculous. I will just say that. I'm glad I can still go to the store and get things right now. But who knows in the future how things are going to be. And you get someone like that and socialism moves forward. He lets Mamdani move forward more with his socialist agenda. Maybe take someone like AOC as his vice. And you're going to see this country start moving in a really hostile direction. And I was watching an interview yesterday with Gavin Newsom and Brian Tyler Cohen, I think is the guy's name. I think that's his name. Don't quote me on it. And he was throwing out the idea of if the Democrats win the Senate, the House, and the presidency, of packing the Supreme Court. He was really promoting his book about this great idea, which is not a great idea at all. It's really just greed, power, lust, and it's evil. I mean, he's not talking about just adding like a justice or two justices. He's talking about adding enough to make it 13 on the bench. He claims, oh, that would be in the same as the circuit courts or the lower courts. But in that regard, the only reason he really wants to do it is not even because of that. It's because it would give him the majority in the Supreme Court, and it would make the Republicans the minority, so that they could try to do whatever they wanted. And if you get a bunch of other sodomizers in there, the current justice that's really super liberal and makes no sense on her rulings. If you actually read her rulings, they make no sense. The biggest issue I see with someone doing that and packing the Supreme Court with the Republicans or the Democrats, he tried to say that the Republican Supreme Court isn't neutral when they've actually ruled against Trump on a lot of stuff. And they actually are in the middle. They actually shut down a lot of things that are very conservative ideas. So they are actually way more neutral than he gives them credit for, the guy that wanted to pack the Supreme Court. Gavin Newsom seemed to act like he wasn't on the board for doing that. I tend to think because he knows that if he can, to win the centrist vote in a presidential election, if he wanted to win the centrist, he couldn't run with that idea. He could still have that idea in the back of his mind and just do it and just run, say whatever he wants and lie. Lying isn't illegal for Congress or politicians. They have sovereign immunity. So anyway, that's my ramble about the possibility of Hunter Biden running. If someone packed the Supreme Court, say goodbye to the Second Amendment. That's going to be the first thing they're going to come after. They're going to take away every single ruling on the Second Amendment. They're going to try to make things super restrictive, pass executive orders. The executive orders are going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to have no chance of actually getting overturned, even though they should, based on the Constitution. So you could say goodbye to that if the Supreme Court gets packed, which I think in the next, say, 8 to 12 years, there's a real possibility of that. And if that happens, you know, I'm not advocating it, but there's a very real possibility of a civil war if that were to happen. Because if you have to go and actually confiscate people's firearms, which I believe will happen in my lifetime based on the current sentiment, you're going to see some people that are not going to do it. So, and what's that going to be? Anyway, there's a couple conspiracy theories, predictions. I think you're going to see Hunter Biden try to run for president. If it's not in this election, it'll be in the next one. But I tend to think it's going to try to be in this one. Also, other things to note about Hunter Biden, he went to Yale Law School, graduated from Yale Law School. So he has that credential, which if you look at where most of the presidents have went to college, Harvard and Yale tend to be the main ones. You can have conspiracy about the skull and bones and all that stuff if you want to look into it. But he graduated from Yale. So that's also another thing that people don't realize. Yeah, he was a crackhead, but also at the same time, he also graduated from Yale Law School. He has the Biden name, the possible endorsements he could get if he did win the nominee, and he's a good public speaker. In fact, I actually think he's the best candidate out of any Democrat in the party. Like, if I was going to vote, he's the one that would be the most persuasive for me to vote the other way. I wouldn't do it right now, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people that would. So think about that. Think about the possibility of something like that. What would you do? What would you think? And it's a ways out. You know, the election's maybe, what, 2026, 2 years out? So it's a ways out. He's got time to keep running, keep getting his name out there, keep doing talk shows. And he does a great job every time anyone asks him a serious question. I mean, he just pulls the addiction card and works around the question. And it's like a work of art, the way he does it. It's really good. And like, you know, I would like to be able to agree with him on some things, but as far as the transgender stuff, no, don't agree with it. As far as the gay marriage stuff, no, don't agree with it. As far as the Second Amendment, no, I don't agree with it. His views on it. As far as capitalism and free markets and government regulation, no, I don't agree with his views on it. As far as trade, that type of stuff, no, don't agree. Environmentally, no, I don't agree, because I actually like taking care of the environment and conservation, but I see they take it too far. They want to take away the cows. They want to push this vegetarian stuff. No, not for it. What are some other issues I could think of? Immigration, no, don't agree. Yeah, I mean, pretty much there isn't a single issue that I think that they're on the right side of. I wish there was. But in reality, we'll see. You know, that's just my prediction, just my thoughts on it. As far as, you know, it's all just remains to be seen what's going to happen. Right now, we're currently at kind of a slow spot in the news, which usually it seems like news is just coming. You're getting like a new historical world event every month, and right now it's kind of slow. But anyway, what else was I going to talk about today? I think that's about it, about everything I wanted to talk about today. A little bit on the garden. Man, I've just been pulling that pump. I'm tired today. This video might not be that good, but I'm going to put it out for people to watch and hear their opinions and thoughts on it. Anyway, that's all I got today. I'm going to start a nice little campfire here and cook some dinner on it. Just relax for the evening as the sun goes down and finally gets cool. We're back in the 90s here. We've had so much rain this last month. All the creeks are dry. Surprisingly, even though we've had tons of rain, the creeks are dry, which I've never seen. In fact, some of the old timers at church I've talked about said that the creeks are drier than they've ever seen. So, yeah, I mean, there's a spot where I was catching like 4-foot gar and largemouth last year, and it was like 8 to 10 feet deep in some spots, and it's completely bone dry. It's kind of interesting, but anyway, I'm going to chill out for the evening here. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and God bless y'all. Sit. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make Bailey famous for YouTube. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching.